All right, let's make some crostinis and croutons. Um, I know you don't have a recipe for this, so I'm gonna try to get you everything you need. Okay. First things off, if you're gonna start doing this, you should start preheating your oven to 325 degrees. Okay, 325 degrees. I got both of my loaves, my little epis right here. Um, they're half frozen. I had them in the freezer. I pulled them out about an hour ago. Um, you're gonna need those. You're gonna need a bread knife, okay, or a serrated knife. I have salt, pepper, chili powder that you have in your kit. Uh, for the croutons, you're gonna need a bowl, and I have a little bit of parsley, which is what I'm gonna put on mine. Okay, and then you're gonna need a little bit of oil. I'm using the oil blend right here, but you can use canola, extra virgin, whichever you want. Okay. Oh, and I have a brush. I'm gonna show you two different ways of getting the oil onto the crostinis. Okay. And I have a couple of sheet trays. If you only have one sheet tray, do them one at a time. It's no problem. Okay. This is fairly quick. All right. So first things for the crostinis, we're gonna take one of these loaves out of the way. I have this guy right here. The idea is that we're cutting thin pieces of bread to toast them, and they will end up with something on top of them, right? Part of being in garde manger is doing a lot of appetizers. So this should be something that will be either one bite or a bite and a half. Most likely one bite will be the best, as we're going to cut them thin enough that they could break. I mean, the goal is obviously that they don't break, but they're going to be thin enough that they're not going to be most of the appetizer. They will be part of the appetizer. Okay, they're just we're going to use them as a vessel to carry the food. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is cut this bread. I like cutting them fairly thin, about an eighth of an inch, and I go a little bit on a bias. Sometimes people go super straight. I just think the bread doesn't have enough flow, and also cutting it in a bias, as they toast, they have a little bit of a curl. So the goal is that we're basically making toast. So I'm gonna go in a little bit of an angle here with my bread knife, like so. See if you guys see that. And we don't use the end part, so that can be out of the way. It could be your snack for later. And then the goal is to go about an eighth of an inch, and this is why we have it half frozen, so we can cut it nice and thin and the bread doesn't squish, right? And the goal here is to use the whole length of the knife. Okay. And then we can cut the rest of this loaf this way. Don't let the angle get away and then end up with like ginormous crostinis. Obviously the ones in the center of the loaf are gonna be a little bit bigger than the ones that you have at the end, but this crostini is can be used for many things. You're gonna be making some ceviche next week. You can save some of these. You're also going to be making some cheese mousse tomorrow. So that's particularly what this is for. Is for that cheese mousse. Okay. So now that we have our bread cut, just so you get an idea, I got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. I got 20 slices out of mine, and that doesn't include the two ends. Okay, so now that I have them ready to go, I have a sheet tray right here with parchment. If you don't have parchment at home, it's no big deal. I just don't like having to clean the trays. And then what we're gonna do is lay them out in a single layer, right? Some of them sometimes get stuck like that a little bit. You just go as close to each other as you can. And you can also use this, guys, as actual croutons. If you want your croutons to look better, this could be a good crouton. Okay, they're great for topping your French onion soup, you cut them a little bit thicker. There's many uses for these crostinis. You can set appetizers. We can put a little piece of meat on top of them. Once we have them like this, that's pretty good right there. We're ready for the next step. If you have a squeeze bottle, lucky you. This is the easiest way to do it. The goal will be to take a squeeze bottle, and I like using my finger as a stopper on the squeeze bottle, and then zigzagging olive oil on them, and that's gonna not only hold the salt and pepper but give it some flavor. If you don't have that and you have a brush, you can just dip your brush and then hold it with one finger and then brush every single one of them. And you don't want them completely covered in oil because it'll get too saturated and they'll be too greasy. Okay, and then once you have them like that, just a little bit of salt from high above, and go ahead and I'm going in a circular motion, and I'm staying far up so I give enough time for that seasoning to disperse. And I have some black pepper right here, and I'm doing the same thing. Okay, and then I'm gonna do a little bit of chili powder, and that will go really good with our goat cheese mousse. Okay, so like that. And that will be it. If you want to add garlic, if you have some garlic paste left from your crostinis, you can put it in here. This ones don't cook very long, so I avoid putting garlic that is minced or mashed like that. I just think it's too strong. That's a personal preference, but if you want to do that, go for it. But they should just look like this, and we're gonna go in the oven for about 6 minutes. At 6 minutes, we're gonna look at them, rotate them, and maybe if they're done, take them out. How do you know if they're done? They should be crispy and they should be golden, and they should be just before the color you like them, right? But they should be golden. But they're gonna take about 6 minutes. So I'm gonna put this to the side as I'm gonna put that and the croutons in the oven at the same time. Okay, so I'm gonna put this back here, and then we have the second loaf that is for our croutons. Okay, and the goal here is to get a nice about a medium dice. Okay, so I'm going to take this loaf, and I'm gonna start about, I'm not gonna square it or anything, I'm just gonna go about 1/2 inch in. I'm gonna do a cut, do it again. And when you're doing this, right at the very end when you're cutting the bottom crust, the bread tend to slide a little bit, so be careful. Okay, because these bread knives are they don't forgive. Okay, and then I'm gonna take this bread and line it up like so. I'm gonna do the same thing one more time. And I'm cutting this long ways at about 1/2 inch. Okay, and then I'm gonna turn it over. Just think of it as if it was a potato, but you're just cutting it with a serrated knife. Pieces of bread like so. And I'm squishing the bread a little bit when I'm doing this, just because I want to make sure I'm holding it. Okay, but the idea here, or the goal here, is some fairly consistent squares, so when we cook them, they cook fairly even. Yeah. Yeah. Also, a big thing about cutting with the serrated knife is to watch your thumb, because your thumb tends to get in the way, and then anytime you go like that, and your knife is right here, and we obviously don't want to hurt ourselves. I'm going to take this croutons and move them to the side, put them in my bowl. Okay, I'm actually going to take both of the ends from my crostini, and I'm not going to let those go to waste. I'm going to cut those and add them to my bowl. Okay, and then I'm going to take my my parsley. I have a little bit of parsley here. I'm going to get rid of the stems. Okay. And then I have my knife right here, and I'm just gonna do a quick chop on this. You don't need it super fine, but just something that you don't have giant chunks of leaves. Usually at the beginning of chopping parsley, it's a little bit inconsistent, so we just want something like so. Know that, like, you'll know if you over chop the parsley, number one, like, your board will turn all green and your parsley will be stuck to each other. It should just flow really nicely when you're trying to sprinkle it down. I'm gonna add that to my bowl. Okay. My station is clean. I got my croutons right here. I got my parsley right here. And then just like we dress salad, we'll dress the croutons. I'm gonna take my oil and go straight to the bowl. And then I'm gonna run my croutons by that. Okay, and you'll notice that as you run your croutons by it, your parsley will start sticking to your bread. Okay. A little bit more. And you want the bread to be coated all the way through in the outside, okay? For this, you can use any of the oils as well. I think the more flavoring you add outside of the oil, the more neutral you want to be on the oil. So if you're gonna add a lot of spices to this, which you could, right, then you should probably go with canola oil. If you're not gonna add very much to them, the olive oil will bring some flavor to them. Okay, but we can go with a great amount of spices here because we're not gonna cook for a long period of time. Okay, same as we did with the crostini. I got some salt in there and some pepper. I'm gonna not put any chili powder on my croutons, but powdered garlic. Maybe your garlic paste can go in here. This will be better for your garlic paste than your other than your crostinis. And we're gonna cook for about 8 minutes. It should take 12 minutes total. So when we look at the crostini at 6, we should be able to rotate these croutons. And then when you place them on your tray, I got another tray here. When you place them on your tray, try to take whatever parsley you left behind and then try to line them up so they're in a single layer in your tray. Okay, single layer. Okay, if you have other bread that you're going to take advantage of and make it into croutons, now it's the time. So 325 degrees, 6 minutes for the crostini, and this should take about 12 minutes. Okay, I'll look at them, and after they're done, I'll bring them back. I'll show you guys, and I'll let you know if my oven let me down or if it worked at that time. All right, teams, I'm back. I finished cooking these. The crostinis took 8 minutes. After the 6 minutes, I checked them 2 more minutes, right? And that's what mine turned out to be. And they're crunchy. They're still kind of warm, so it'll take a little bit for them to fully set. And my croutons took 12 minutes, and you can hear them. How they're crunchy. They're not super golden. They were almost there. When you take a bite, it's crunchy with a little bit of soft in the inside, which means that by the time that they cool down, they'll be crunchy all the way through. So don't only look at the color, also look at what they feel like when you eat them. Sometimes if you overcook them, they'll become too hard. Okay? This doesn't mean that it's exactly 8 minutes and 12 minutes. What I'm giving you a guideline for you to look at. I mean, depending on where in your oven you put your crostinis and where in your oven you put your croutons, is going to depend on how much the heat is there and how much time it's going to take. This is all about feel. So start at 6 minutes and check from there. Okay, I think 6 minutes at 325 is a good time. I did not have the fan on, just using a regular conventional oven. Okay, I know some of you guys have fan in your oven, so just do a conventional oven 325. Start at 6 minutes, but the goal is that they have some crunch. These guys are not limp, like they're solid. See how they snap when you break them. And the same with the croutons, they have a nice sound. They're nice and golden, and that's what we're looking for.